and hover over my picture, which hopefully you see, and there should be some little dots that appear in the top right corner. If you click on that, those three little dots in the blue box, then on the third one, it should say chat, and you can send me a private chat, and that's the ideal way to communicate this answer. Whoops, let me fix it. Okay. Okay, so yeah, black to play here and checkmate in a single move. I did have one correct answer, so there's one student that's on top of it. So you want to look at the, oh, somebody's got a hot mic. You would, thank you, fix that. You already got it. Okay, so we're going after this white king here, and we want to look, how do we attack the white king here? How do we go after him? I'm just going to highlighting with the hearts. So it is black to play. We're playing for the black side of the board, and we're going to checkmate in a single move. Just let me check. Still seems like we're waiting for a few people. So we'll do a few of these checkmate ones while we're waiting for everybody to show up. So black to play and attack the white king. We always want to be considering every possible checking move. And let me move the chat over so it's a better spot for me to see it. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay.
Sorry about my mom.
Answer, and your answer is essentially correct. You basically have the right one, except for when you're talking about a piece, it should be a capital letter. If you're talking about one of the pieces, the rooks, queens, bishops, whatnot, you use a capital letter to denote that piece. Like a queen would be a capital Q. Yeah, exactly. You nailed it. So I do have two people that have correctly answered this one. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal the answer via text, first of all. So the proper notation for the move would be bishop to G3, and that's checkmate. That's how you write checkmate, is that hashtag symbol. So yeah, bishop to G3, and somebody even wrote it, but it's got to be capital letter. You want to use a capital letter to talk about the bishop, because if you just write a lowercase b, we might think you're talking about the B file. It gets a little confusing. So we use lowercase letters to talk about the vertical columns that go up and down. Those are the files. And we use capital letters to talk about pieces. So bishop B3. This person actually made a big mistake. Yeah, they opened up what is called the fool's diagonal. The fool's diagonal is the diagonal that corresponds between your king and your opponent's queen. You got to be really careful about opening up the fool's diagonal. As you might have guessed by now, it's foolish to open that up without really being careful. Okay, so that's where black messed up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear that real quick, and we'll move on to the next one. We'll do one more of these checkmate and ones. As always, it's good to consider checkmates, or well, obviously checkmates are good to consider, but we always want to consider checking moves first. I highly recommend you focus on the kings first. If you're playing a game of chess, you should be, there we go. So it's white to move and checkmate in a single move. If you're playing a game of chess with a person, you got to be looking at every single check you can play against that person. And you must also consider any check they can play against you. And it doesn't matter whose move it is. You need to do that in order to be a solid chess player. So now we have a checkmate, which of course is an attack on the king. So we're attacking the black king. We're going to finish him off in a single move. So what is that move? Please don't write on the screen the answer or anything like that currently. If you feel like writing right off the screen, or off the board, I mean. But ideally, again, you send me a chat message. That would be best. So you just kind of put your mouse over top of my picture, there should be a little blue box with some dots in it, and there should be a chat option. So you just send me a chat with the notation. We want to learn the notation. We want to learn the coordinate system. So we're playing for white here. This is white to play. And, oops, I did that wrong. White to play and checkmate the black king. So we always play for the king on the bottom half of the board. Playing for the king on the bottom half of the board. So we're white to move and checkmate the black king in a single move. What is that move? So I'm watching both the chat boxes here, both with, oh, I did see, oh yeah, so Dragon with Glasses, you did nail that last one. So if you're gonna write that hashtag, I like that name, by the way, Dragon with Glasses. So the hashtag is just a pound sign, basically. Oh, and I have a couple answers here on the other chat. Let me think about it. Does that work too? Funny, I have two students that suggested the same mistaken move, unfortunately. So get my mouse back to the right spot. So black starts out with their pawns on the 7th rank. And the reason that's important is these pawns are going this direction, like they would promote to the queens if they went down here, right? So I had two students that said, go ahead and play this move, RF5, and they said that was checkmate. And I see another answer in the chat. I'll get to that one in a second. This is not checkmate because the pawn can simply capture. Simple answer there. So that doesn't work. I thought about it for a second. Like with two students with perfect notation said that answer, but that's not checkmate because the pawn can capture. And then I have another one. Yeah, very good. Dragon with Glasses. Yeah, RF5 gets captured. Exactly. And that is the right move. So the move that you just put there, Dragon, is correct. And luckily, YouTube is about 30, well, not 30, probably 10, 15 seconds behind my classroom. So they can't get the answer from you. Okay, so give everybody else just a few more moments to think about this one, and then I'm going to reveal it. So, one thing that can kind of help you identify these checkmates, you don't know. I understand that. Is to look where the king can even move. And actually, I don't think, let me just get something to draw with. I don't think the king can move anywhere because, the queen's covering this file. Oh, no, that's not true. I guess he could actually capture this pawn here. The king could capture that pawn. His own rook's got him blocked. He could capture the pawn. So somehow you have to put the king in check. And you have to, hello. I'm not sure how to pronounce XIAO. I'm really sorry. XIAO, hello. So somehow we have to defend that pawn while checkmating at the same time. And I'm going to go ahead and reveal this one in just a second. I'll give you a few more moments because several of you have got the right answer. A couple of you have got the right answer. And I would like to move on to a fantastic game from a legend of chess. So let me clear this real quick, give you a few more moments to think about the answer while I get the text box out. So the correct move here is actually capital Q to G5, and that is checkmate. So that's how you would write that. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and get my mouse back, and I guess I'll go ahead and clear that now. And let's take a look at this game. So this is a game played by Paul, whoops. So the game we're about to view is a game by Paul Morphy. These are a couple of drawings of Paul Morphy back when he was a young man. On the right is a picture from 1857, which I think he was a teenager at that point, and I think he might be 20 or 21, the picture on the left where he's sitting down. So Paul Morphy is a legend of chess. he just went through the entire world and just dominated everybody, just destroyed them. Really incredible games that he played. He was like kind of the first ever recorded grandmaster, though that was not something that was named back then. Nobody talked about grandmasters, but he was an extraordinary player. And let's go ahead and take a look at his game.
Is he still alive?
He's not still alive. No, he died a long time ago. Where did the game go? Okay, let me just, I've got boxes in the way of, I can't get a hold of the, there we go. Okay. And okay, so that's Paul Morphy. That's what he looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and move that off of there now. Okay, let's get this a little more centered. So Paul Morphy is playing white, and we're gonna learn how to develop your pieces with just ferocity. I kind of think about Paul Morphy when I looked at this game. He's like Wolverine or something. He's coming out and he's got his claws out. He's ready to battle right off the bat. So he's going to develop his pieces super fast. So attacking the center of the board right off. Now Paul Morphy is playing white, and he's actually playing against two gentlemen. Here's kind of an artist rendition of this very famous game. He's actually playing a duke and a count, so a couple of noblemen essentially. They're playing an opera, so this is called the opera game. But okay, well, actually, can I move that? It'd be nice to kind of leave that on there if I can. Yeah, heck with it. Okay, so both players attacking the center right off the bat, or all three players, I guess I should say. Kind of following center control ideas here. This is good. Both players developing their pieces rapidly. But you know, ideally you don't want to be making a bunch of moves with the same piece in the opening, unless you kind of have to. And so they're moving their bishop a couple times. I think he actually captures with the queen. You know, so you could capture with the pawn. The trouble with that is it messes up your pawn integrity. You want to keep your pawns. You want to keep your pawns on their own files if you can, so that they can protect each other. So he captures with the queen, which can be dangerous. You don't want to get your queen out too early in most cases, but Morphy is already threatening checkmate here. Can somebody, let's imagine it's white's move here. Let's imagine it's white's move. What move would you play that would be checkmate? I got this in my way here. So anybody, what move could we play that would be checkmate? I have the chat covered. I'm sorry. Bear with me a second here. I'm just going to get rid of this picture of Paul Morphy. Okay. Yeah, if Paul Morphy was still alive today, yeah, he would be. I mean, this game was played in 1858. So that's like 160 years ago itself. So Paul Morphy would be like 180 if he was still alive. Okay. That's interesting. I missed that. Okay, so what is the move? What move? So we're imagining it's white's move. Yeah, dragon with glasses. You nailed it. Perfect notation as well. Excellent job. We'll give everybody else a few moments to think about that. So it's a checkmate in a single move. White to play. What does black have to watch out for here? This is the most infamous of checkmates, I would say. I don't think there is another checkmate more infamous, you know, famous for being terrible, more or less is what infamous is. Now, normally you don't want to get your queen out early. I want to emphasize that. You know, you want to avoid variations where your queen is going to need to come out. But this is just kind of the way the game worked out. Sometimes you've got to recover your piece. You know, like you're trying to develop your pieces nicely and somebody attacks one of your pieces, your queen's defending it. So you decide to develop another piece. They capture that piece. Well, now your queen's out. So that's why Morphy's got his queen out early. But like I said, normally I would not develop the queen early. Let me let this dog out real quick. Give you guys a second. Okay, anybody have the answer? I'll go ahead and show you. So the threat, yeah, so they did open that file. So the threat is actually queen captures on F7. So that would be capital Q X, because you're capturing that pawn. You got to put that X symbol. And with the bishop support, they're both attacking this weak square. Whoops, what did I not get? Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, so they're both attacking this vulnerable F7 square, which only the king defends that F7 square. So you really got to watch out for that. And these guys are not going to go down that easy. They played some chess, so they do not make that mistake. They actually developed their knight, an excellent way to defend this. This is a really good way to prevent the 4-move checkmate. If you get that knight to that square, to F6, within a move or two, then you usually don't have to worry about that 4-move checkmate. And okay, so Morphy, so again, you usually don't want to be moving your queen a bunch in the opening, but this just kind of worked out this way for Morphy. I'm just saying, in general, I don't recommend getting your queen out early, but he's making a couple different threats now. He's threatening this checking move here, which again, the king is the only defender, but he's making a second threat as well. He's also threatening to win this pawn and possibly win the rook, cause a bunch of problems. So that's why he made this move, is because it's a fork. Remember, a fork is where you move a piece and it's attacking 2 or more pieces at the same time. So that's the issue here. I'm gonna go ahead and clear our drawings real quick and get my mouse back. Okay. And they make a valiant defense. They're trying to defend both things at the same time. Instead of going for the pawn, though, Morphy develops his pieces. And again, that's what I want you all to focus on. We should be developing our pieces. We want to get them engaged in the game, because it's going to give you more power over the chessboard if you have your knights and bishops engaged in the game. Okay. And this is just providing that, enabling the queen to defend that B7 square. So our queen is attacking B7. Their queen can defend B7. So that's why they made that move. It's kind of an odd move otherwise if you don't look at the context, but okay. So Morphy develops another piece, and look, he could castle either direction on his next move, right? He can castle either direction. So really building in some flexibility. Like I said, he's like Wolverine. He comes out, he's got all of his pieces involved. He's ready to do battle, Meanwhile, Black, what is this? He's got his bishop sitting back here. This rook is going to be a long way from getting engaged. This knight is still here. This rook is even further from getting into game. And even this knight that appears to be developed is not really developed, because it's pinned to the queen, right? This bishop pins that knight to the queen, so he can't even use that, or they can't use it. It's 2 gentlemen, right? So Black has no development, essentially. And meanwhile, White has pretty much everything developed. He wants to castle soon. And that's really the only objective he has to finish in the opening. And then he's ready to go on the attack big time. Okay. All right, so kind of it seems like a pretty obvious move. And now Morphy's going to do something a bit surprising. He realizes that, again, he's got all of his guns firing. They're ready to fight here, and he might as well go to town. So he actually sacrifices his knight here. He sacrifices a knight because it's so dangerous now. So he traded his knight for 2 points of material. So he's given up a point. Not a huge disadvantage. But the problem is for Black is their king is exposed, and what are they really going to do here? If they just simply move the king over, then Black's got the castling move, and it's going to be over very quickly. So they're forced to defend with their knight, and now Morphy is fully developed. He's ready for the middle game. He's ready to go. He's down 1 point basically because of a sacrifice, but all of his pieces are just engaged and ready to cause all kinds of chaos on the board. Meanwhile, really, Black doesn't have any development. You know, this knight and this knight appear to be developed, and normally they would be, but since they're both pinned to the royal figures there, that's no good, right? That's not going to work out for anybody. All right. So really the only move that could be done for black, and now Morphy actually sacrifices his rook because really this rook wasn't doing anything. So he realized that he could afford to trade that rook for, I think, was it a bishop or a knight? I think it was a knight. He was able to trade it for the minor piece, giving up 2 more points of material, but these guys will never see the light of day. This attack is so brutal because it's so well timed. And again, it's because Morphy, he got his bishops, he got his knights into the game efficiently. He just got them out there attacking the center of the board in such a beautiful manner that he's able to, you know, give up the 3 points. So Morphy's going to be down 3 points here. But again, really, these 2 gentlemen have no development. You know, Morphy's only got a couple pieces on the board. He's given up some material, but these guys are definitely doing a good job. These bishops are deadly. The queen is lurking. This rook is ready to jump over into the action. But meanwhile, black's pieces are pinned and they're useless. There is an absolute pin on the rook. The rook absolutely cannot move. It's illegal. It would put the king in check. And there's almost, I mean, it's a relative pin, but it's the most deadly relative pin that exists. It's pinned to the royal piece. So black has no development, essentially. Okay. So now, again, the rook cannot capture because of the absolute pin of to its own king. And now, you know, black frees up his knight. So now the knight is not pinned. So he can, you know, get that knight involved in the game. It's kind of the idea there. So now technically he has 1 developed piece as well. The queen's kind of developed and so is the knight. And Morphy does not want to trade queens. This queen trade, not something Morphy wants. He's down a fair bit of material at this point. I'm not sure what it is, but it's more than a piece. So he definitely doesn't want to trade. We don't trade when we're down. So Morphy goes ahead and takes the rook since, and now that freed knight is able to capture. Now it's actually checkmate in 2 moves. It's something called the, it's checkmate in 2 moves. So white to play here, and we're going to play check and then checkmate. So can you find the move? You can try to write the 2 moves out if possible. So I'll give everybody some time to think about it. It's going to be check and checkmate. White is going to finish the game. Notice that, where is my arrow? This bishop is taking away 2 escape squares around the king. That's important. And also, well, I don't want to give too much away up front. Let's think about it for a few moments, and then I'll maybe give you some more hints, because it is checkmate in 2, which can be a bit complicated. But we always want to be looking for checking moves. That's the first thing. And remember, you don't want to trade queens. You're down too much material. Morphy has sacrificed too much. If you trade queens and you don't get a checkmate, you might lose this game. And Morphy definitely didn't like to lose games. Dragon with glasses on top of it. Perfect notation as well. Wait, yeah, no, that's perfect notation. Heck yeah, beautiful. So we actually had a student that wrote out perfect notation for, it's basically 3 moves, technically 2, white moves, black moves, white moves. But in order to write a notation for it, you have to write the white move, then the black move, and then the white move. And this is where visualization comes in. We want to be visualizing, you know, the move sequence and trying to imagine all the possibilities that our opponent can play. That's a big part of chess. That's probably the most important part of chess, because it's the part of chess that can kind of translate into your life. You know, you visualize something as simple as maybe a basketball shot. You know, you're about to shoot your shot, and you imagine that ball going up and arcing over the rim, and like the backspin as it touches the back of the net. You know, you visualize that first, and it improves your chances of actually doing it. That's definitely true for archery. I'm an archery instructor, and a huge part of it is visualizing your actual shot, striking the target in just the spot that you're focusing on. So again, in chess, we're trying to visualize. So you start out with a checking move, and there should only be one check. Well, there are two checks, but again, we don't want to trade queen. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the first move. Wait, I lost my, well, I guess I can just play it. Yeah, so white actually plays this insane move here. This seemed like, Morphy, are you just giving up all of your material? You sacrificed those other pieces, and now you're sacrificing the queen. Because, so the knight captures, and now it's white to play and checkmate in a single move. So what is that move? So I'm looking at both chats. Please don't write it on the board or anything for a few moments. Let's give everybody some time to contemplate this checkmate in a single move from this famous game played in an opera in Paris. This was played in Paris in 1858 during a tour where Paul Morphy, the legend, he proved to the whole world that he was simply the strongest player in existence. So here's Paul Morphy again. Pretty much, I don't think nobody disputes that Paul Morphy was the strongest player of his time. He went around and just crushed everybody. But he was, like I said, he was like Wolverine. He would just tear out onto the chessboard. He loved an open game. He wanted to open up the board. So some players suggest that if you could manage to get into a closed game with Paul Morphy, then maybe some of the great players today would have a chance against him. But if you were on an open board with Paul Morphy, you were done. Okay, I'm sorry, I ignored the chats here for a second. So I've only had one student with the answer, and they actually answered it already. So you can go ahead and reveal the move if you want. If you have the ability to write on the board, which some of you students do, you could write the move if you wanted, or you could write the text. Give you a few moments to do that if you'd like to show everybody you know what it is. Checkmate in a single move. I'm gonna go ahead and point out something first. So again, it's always a good idea. You should be like zeroing in on your opponent's king. And you should always be looking to see where their king can move and how you can strike at their king. This is a huge part of the game. If you're not doing that, you're just moving pieces on the board. You need to be thinking about attacking kings. Attacking kings is the primary objective of chess. Okay, so the black king actually has nowhere to move here because the rook is taking away the entire d file, and the bishop is taking this diagonal here. So we actually have two pieces focusing in on the same square, and black only has one piece defending it. So we can actually play what is now famous as the opera mate. Again, this game was played in the opera in Paris in 1858. So the opera mate is this mate where you use a rook to give checkmate defended by a bishop. So that is the opera mate. Okay, so we did see a lot of pins here. That's, well, yeah, let's look at a couple of pins. Okay, and I'm going to pull that other board off of there. So it is, wait a second. No, I'm sorry. I got the wrong one. That was still the checkmate puzzle. So we're going back to pins. Just a kind of an easier pin to start with. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I'll get it up there. So a pin, again, is where you have a ranged attacker, like a rook, a bishop, or a queen. So we know this is a rook move. So you could write a capital R on your if you were sending me a private message. And again, with the private messages, if you're in the Zoom classroom, you just kind of hover over my picture. There'll be a blue bar at the top, and one of them will have a couple dots in it. You click on that or hover over it, and it should say chat. So that's the main way. On YouTube, you can just send me the picture. I have you set back 15 seconds or something like that, so that hopefully nobody from the classroom actually looks on YouTube for the answer, ideally. So that should be fine. If you want to just type it to me on YouTube, that's fine. Okay, so we know this is a rook move, so we're going to use a capital R. You know, so we do want to get familiarized with the notation and the coordinate system used in chess, because kind of help putting this a visualization of a chessboard in your brain. Your individual squares need some sort of designation for your brain to hold on to them. Otherwise, they're just squares on the board. But if you start to get a feel for where G5 is, where F7 is, where H8 is, it makes it easier to visualize the board. And yeah, dragon with glasses, that is the correct move. Nicely done. So we know it's going to be a rook move. So where do you put the rook to pin the other two pieces together? And I'm just going to give you a few moments on this one, because this is basically just kind of a refresher, right? So we use, I'm getting some strange messages in the chat. Okay, it doesn't look like I missed anything in the chat. There's just some gibberish over there on the other side. Okay, I need to move this back over. That's better. Okay. Yeah, so that's the move. Let's got a hot mic. Rook to D7 is the move, as you see now on the screen. So we play rook to D7, and that's an absolute pin. There's no way of moving that knight. It was absolutely pinned to the king, and we can just play rook takes E7 check. And now, we've got to, protect our rook. We got to get him out. The nice thing is the rook is real fast, so we could run him to wherever we want. And you can actually checkmate with a king and just a rook. So I've already kind of got him where I'm going, where I want him. I'm just going to show you this checkmate real quick. So I like to push my rook over 3 rows from the side, and then force their king 2 rows from the side, and I'll just kind of choke up on them. Somebody's got a hot mic. And I can actually just kind of drive him back systematically. And if you're interested in knowing how to do this checkmate, I do have a YouTube video on this. Whoops. Uh-oh. Sorry, I activated my AI by mistake. You can just drive him back. And again, like I have a video on YouTube that shows you how to accomplish this checkmate. There are some waiting moves that you have to do, but you can slowly drive him back into the corner. This is called the box mate. Oh, is it my move? It must be my move. Looks like I'm going to have a couple buy moves, and that just kind of happens. You don't have a whole lot of power, but that is checkmate there. Okay, let's look at one more basic pin, and then we'll go to a little bit more difficult version of a pin. So again, well, actually, this is not so basic, but still, it serves. Okay, so it is black to play here, black to play, and use a pin to accomplish something. Okay, so again, pins are only done with bishops, rooks, and queens. Usually bishops are the best at kind of getting the most out of pins, because they are expendable pieces, essentially, compared to the pieces that you might pin. If you could pin a rook or a queen with your bishop, that's awesome. But if you pin a knight with your rook, are you really going to sacrifice your rook for the knight? Probably not in most cases.
No.
But you can, you could pin a queen to a king with a rook, or you can, maybe somebody's attacking you with their knight, but then you pin the knight to their king with your rook, and now they're not really attacking you anymore. So yeah, so it's black to play here and use a pin to take advantage of the situation. What move do you play as black? And I got my eye on both the chats. So black to play and line up two white pieces with one of his black pieces. How do you line them up to take advantage? And this is a devastating pin, as a little bit of a hint. Just, ugh, some people get upset when you do something like this to them, but it's a good way to win a game. Dragon, yeah, you got that. That's correct. Perfect notation as well. Well done. So what move is played here? And okay, and I'm not sure who the student is, but I also have a student in the classroom that got perfect notation on it. And I'm just going to use this one once again as kind of an example. Oh, two of you got it now. Hello. Yep. No, we're not checking the king. We're not checking the king here. So we're doing a different kind of idea here. So we're doing a pin. And a pin is a tactic, which is kind of like a weapon or tool. It's a pattern, really, in chess that you can use. A tactic is a pattern in chess that you can use to take advantage of kind of weaknesses in your opponent's position. So there's a weakness in the white position, and the pattern of that weakness is a pin. So yeah, it's a tactical thing. And so notice that the king and queen are actually on the same diagonal, okay? So if you see something like that, you should be looking for a bishop that you could put on the same line with them. And in fact, we do have that situation. Our knight is helping us to defend, this square here. We're not going to make that move, but since the knight is covering that square, we can actually play this move bishop to f4. So several of you did write capital B, lowercase f4, and that's a fantastic move. There's not really anything they can do. They can't move the queen because it's absolutely pinned to the king. They could have captured our bishop, but then we would have captured back the knight. So we're going to go ahead and take the queen, and we gain 6 points of material. We gained 6 points of material. We traded a bishop, so -3, but then we got +9. So, okay. So again, we're looking for a pin, and this one's very similar to the last one. Same basic pattern, I would say. We're playing for black, so it's black to move and pin two white pieces together using one of our ranged attackers. Either a bishop, a rook, or a queen can do a pin. Knights, pawns, and kings cannot, because they don't attack in straight lines. And a pin is a straight line kind of attack. So I got my eyes on both chats, kind of wait for your response here. And actually, I'm going to move, I'm going to move this over a little bit. Dog broke back in. And I'm going to kind of keep an eye on the chats for your move, but I'm going to bring up another tactic here in moments, hopefully. So I did have one student in the classroom use perfect notation. So this, wait, oh no, there's two answers. Is that even a possible move? Oh, they must be responding to another one. So I think there's only one student that's responded to this puzzle, and you do have the right move. And I'm bringing up, so we did some discovered checks last week, and we did kind of struggle on them a little bit, but I want to take another look. Practice. Still keeping an eye on the chats, and yes, Dragon, that is the correct answer. Perfect notation, nicely done. Still keeping an eye on the chat, but I'm trying to get our next kind of type of puzzles on here. We'll continue to do some pins. So remember discovered check. I don't actually, hold on. That would be nice. No, not the right size. So this puzzle is going to be a little bit smaller. Hopefully, I'm going to put that over top. So just kind of a refresher on discovered attack. So, you know, our rook is online with this queen here. So if we could move the knight with enough power, with a dangerous enough move, then we could win the queen. And of course, a checking move trumps a queen attack. So they have to respond to the checking move. And then we get a free queen, not a free queen, but we win a queen for a rook, I think, in this case. Okay, so same idea. You know, so puzzle on the left, if you want, you know, what move do you play? And I'm going to go ahead and reveal the answer, which, hello, Mr. or Miss Chen there, Cuimei. Boy, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but happy to have you there. Oh yeah, so on the right, I'm actually going to reveal it. It's actually, so we've got, and we'll go on to another pin. So on the right, the one with the green squares.
Why am I only the one who's showing my camera?
Oh, I don't know. Just you and me, I guess, though. That's all right.
My camera doesn't work.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So the king and queen are on the same diagonal once again, and anytime you see that, you should be like thinking, where's my dark squared bishop? And we do have a fantastic move here, a devastating move that my mouse is on the wrong screen.
Do this too.
Yeah, it's actually bishop to d4, as a couple of you did note. Bishop d4 pins the queen to the king. That's an absolute pin. They cannot move their queen off that diagonal. So now they're just going to recapture with their rook. They didn't really have any other choice, but that's their idea. They're trying to maintain their pawn structure in good shape. So that's why they moved the rook to defend. And yeah, all right. So we're going to look at a couple more pins here on this side. And then we'll, on the smaller board, and I'm sorry, that's kind of tiny right now. We're going to move to discovered checks entirely on the bigger board in a moment, but let me get a text box. So this is the A file here. Over here is, whoops, why is it not letting me out? Okay. And over here is the H file. And then it goes from 1 to 8. You can't see those tiny little numbers, but you know, again, it's kind of good practice because we start to get a feel for. I have another student that wants to be called Dragon. Okay, cool. That's my favorite defense, is actually the Sicilian Dragon. And I think I initially just liked it because it was dragon, and it is an awesome defense. So I've played it for years now, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, so we're looking for another devastating pin here on the right. So again, the pins are where you have a ranged attacker and you have a ranged attacker, and it lines up with 2 of your opponent's pieces. Sorry, I was distracted by one of the chat boxes. I need to respond to that here. So, and then on the left, we have a discovered check. So I'm gonna get my mouse back here. I don't think I've seen, oh yes. So dragon with glasses, you got the correct answer there. That is perfect notation, well done. And on the right here, or on the left, I'm gonna go ahead and reveal the move. You know, so the discovered check again. So we're unleashing the rook by moving the knight. So we move the knight, and now the king is in check. So the rook checks the king. So we know we're gonna win a queen. He defends the queen, but we can just go ahead and take it because, yeah, queen's 9 points, knight is just 3, and we still had a rook to kind of win the game here. So same idea here on the left. I'm going to see if I can make that a little bit bigger. Let that come out a little bit bigger, and then I'll get it off this other board. Okay, and I think I've only had one correct answer for the one on the right. So the one with the green squares, and this is the basic. This is one of the most basic kind of tactics in chess. You kind of have to get a feel for this one before you can move on to other tactics in a lot of cases. So let's just spend a few more moments looking at this. Notice that the king and queen are on the diagonal together. And Yes, somebody just gave me the correct move, but they capitalized the file. So we don't, when we're talking about chess, when we're trying to write this down, yes, exactly right. Nice correction. It's lowercase for the vertical columns. So A, B, C, all on to H, those are all lowercase when you write them down. And it is important because you can end up confusing your pieces. We do capitals for pieces, lowercase for files. And this notation is actually pretty concise. It's extremely efficient and quick to write down. And eventually I hope that you will have opportunity to play some tournament games in person. Oh my goodness, how long has it been since I played an actual game of chess against a human being across a table? Since March, crazy.
Boing.
Yeah, it's been a while, but eventually we'll get to play against humans again, like in person, and you know, writing down the game and then going back over it. That's one of the best ways to learn. And simply writing down the game, it's a little bit tedious at first, but it helps like ingrain it into your mind where these squares are so that you can get a better visualization of the board. And you can actually get to the point where you can play games of chess without even looking at the board. I've played people where they're back there with the chessboard. I'm not looking at it and I'm playing them a game of chess. And grandmasters can do that even better. They can play multiple games. Anyway, so what is the move? You know, I'm going to reveal it on this one so we can move on because I do have 2 students that did correctly answer this one. So on the right, it is actually, and we're going to do one more of these because they're really important to get these pins. So notice that the bishop pins the queen to the king. They had no choice. Our queen was defending the bishop, so they could have captured it, but instead they decide to just back up and now the king will recapture. We're gonna do one more of these discovered check, or excuse me, we're gonna do one more of these pins and then we're gonna go entirely to discovered checks, which is, I think, a really fun tactic. The discovered checks, well, actually all tactics are fun, they just are. But this pin is a really important one to get a hang on because you can use it for offense, you can use it for defense. You know, you want to develop your pieces like we saw in Morphy's game. You want to develop your pieces efficiently. Sometimes, you know, if somebody attacks your piece, you might pin that attacking piece to their king, and now they're not really attacking your piece, you know, so that way you're able to accomplish multiple goals at the same time. You know, you're developing a piece, you're attacking the center of the board, you're defending your piece, all with the same move. So you can make for a lot stronger chess. Sorry about the dogs in the background. Too many dogs around here. Well, to be honest, I don't think you can really have too many dogs, but all right. Yeah. So I did see in the chat. I'm sorry I missed that. So Dragon with Glasses, you got the right move. Yep. It's not really a fork though. That's not a fork. It's more of a double attack. So a fork is where you move it. Well, it's semantics really, but a fork is where you move a piece and it attacks, that piece attacks 2 or more pieces. This is really a discovered attack, or some people might call it a double attack in this case. Yeah, so a couple of you in the chat on YouTube, you've nailed it. Nicely done. I don't have an answer in the classroom. What is the move on the left? It's going to be a discovered attack. Okay. On the right, we have a pin. I don't think anybody's answered the one on the right. I'm sorry if I'm dancing. Kind of, well, never mind. Maybe too much water. So we're looking for a pin on the left. Notice white has a couple pieces lined up. Okay, and Dragon with Glasses, you also got the pin. Nicely done. I was going to say, why hasn't anybody even answered? That one should be relatively easy. So we've got the knight and the bishop, or the knight and the king lined up. Ranged attackers, again, are the only ones that can do pins. So we know it's going to be a bishop move because we only have a bishop. We don't have a rook or a queen, which are the other 2 types of ranged attackers. So the move here is bishop to a6, as a couple of you did note. And it was an absolute pin. He can't move that knight. He moved the king, hoping that we'll forget to take the knight, but that's not going to happen. And we can actually win this game. We're probably going to need to promote one of our pawns to a queen at least to make that happen. But with the extra bishop, that should be fairly easy. Okay, that's the last pin we're going to look at. I'm going to go ahead and reveal the answer on this other puzzle. So a discovered attack is kind of similar to pins in that you're going to be using ranged attackers. So you're going to move one of your pieces out of the way from one of your ranged attackers, in this case, a bishop, but it could, again, be a rook or a queen. So we can actually play this move d6. And d6 attacks both rooks at the same time because the pawn attacks this rook here on c7, but the bishop attacks the rook on a8, or yeah, a8. So we can go ahead and take that rook. And we lose a pawn, but that's definitely to our advantage. I'm going to pull this one off, and we're actually going to go into discovered checks on this a little bit more appropriately sized board. And this is more of an intermediate tactic. We did have some problems with this last week, but it's a really important one to know, and it gives you so much power. If you understand this tactic, you're going to be, let me clear the board here. What happened to my, if you understand this tactic, you're going to have much more powerful options. You're going to have more impetus, more drive behind your moves. Right? Let's please not write directly on the board, ladies and gentlemen, or whoever that is. Not really being a lady or a gentleman. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so this first one, I'm actually just going to go ahead and kind of reveal it because I think this is actually a checkmate in 2, and it's a bit more complicated. But if you want to answer it, you can. But I'm going to kind of use it as an example. So this G file is essentially loaded, right? Because like anywhere that we move our bishop, anywhere we move that bishop, the rook is going to be checking the king. So if the bishop wasn't on the board, the rook would check the king. Of course, their bishop would just capture our rook, so that doesn't do us much good. But we can actually play this crazy combination and checkmate. So we did the discovered check, we moved the bishop, the rook checks, and that's checkmate, okay? Now, we'll take a look at another example. So again, it's going to be a ranged attacker. So a bishop, a rook, or a queen is going to be blocked by one of our own pieces. Okay, so this is actually, I think, checkmate in 2 moves. But let's just find a discovered check, first of all. So what move is a discovered check here on this green board? And I'm watching both the chats again. Yeah, what move is a discovered check? It's for white, so we always play the king on the bottom half of the board. Move. So if it's just look at it, is a checkmate in 2, and if you want to solve the checkmate in 2, you're welcome to do that as well. I do see one person did nail the first. Wait, oh wait. Oh, I think you meant knight captures. That is a discovered check, but that's actually not what.
Got him.
Hello. Oh, if somebody's, yeah. So I had a couple of people respond with the move bishop. Well, never mind. I had one person say bishop takes e8, which is not, that's not possible, is it? No, there's nothing even on e8. So there are a couple of discovered checks on the board. There's actually several, and somebody did show the piece that can do discovered checks. So again, if the knight was just not on the board, then the black king would be in check, right? So we can move that knight anywhere we want, and it's going to be checkmate. But let's make it a little bit harder just for a second. Try to find checkmate in 2. So I have some people that are really on top of things. So I'll give you a few moments to think about. Where would you move the knight? So it's one of those, I mean, there's many squares. I mean, the knight could capture the rook, the knight could capture the pawn, the knight could move over here, the knight could move over there, the knight could move over there. But one of those squares sets the king, or sets white up to win the game. One of those squares sets white up to win the game. And I want to kind of give you a little bit of a hint. You've got to be able to cover, I'm sorry if I'm fidgeting, I kind of, never mind. All right, so we've got to be able to cover that square. So you need to move the knight somewhere so that you can get back to cover that square. But obviously it can't be the C7 square you're sitting on now. That's not where you're going to go the second move. So we're going to do 2 knight moves in a row. And you got to cover that square with a star on it. So that E8 square has to be covered somehow. So please don't write on the board for the time being. Let's try to think about it and come up with a 2 knight. You need to move the knight somewhere so that you can get back. We're going to actually call this, well, okay. Obviously, yeah, so the knight is already covering that square. Let's please not write on the board. In a row. Just for the moment. Somebody's got a hot mic. Yeah, it's a question, definitely. If you need to write, please write. You can write on the screen, but not on the board itself. It's kind of distracting for people that are trying to solve this puzzle. So this is checkmate in 2 moves. We're going to spend a couple minutes on this. This is going to be our last puzzle because I haven't seen anybody answer yet. But it's mate in 2. Right. But we're using this already check. So in 2 squares, you have to be able to get your knight to a square that that covers this square here with all the stars on it. But it can't be where it's sitting now. It has to be some other square that's defending that E8 square. So where do you move so that you can jump to a square that attacks E8 on your second move? So we're going to go knight move, knight move.
Bad face.
So white's going to play some knight move. Black's going to play some move where they really don't have choice. They're going to be able to play like 1 move. Is that right? Yeah. So white's going to play some move with his knight, and black's going to only have 1 choice of what he can do, and then white's going to move that knight again. So can you show me the 2 knight moves that black's going to play, or white's going to play? So knight moves to some square, knight moves to some square. Somebody's got a hot mic. I hear me talking on your screen. That's cool. We got a minion here. That'd be kind of cool to have minion chess pieces, like a minion queen there. And yeah, so that's the first move. So dragon with glasses, you have the first move. What's the second move you make with the knight? So we're looking for 2 knight moves in a row. You can ignore black's move. Of course, black is going to play. You should think about it. You've got to kind of think what move can black play in order to come up with the right knight move. And the final knight move that you're going to make has to cover the E8 square, but it can't cover that square from C7. So right now he's sitting on C7. That the highlighted red box there is C7 with a knight on it. You have to move to some other square that covers the E8 square. What is that square? I've seen no answers on that so far. And this is a complicated puzzle. We're dealing with one that makes you think here. Perfect. Dragon with glasses, perfect notation. Excellent job. That's our last puzzle for today. So if you've already answered it, you're welcome to take off. I'll stay for a minute or 2 after class, although I need to run to the bathroom pretty quickly. But all right. Okay, and so a couple of you on YouTube did get it. Oh, please don't write on the screen. Or, well, please don't write on the board. Please don't write on the board. And I'm going to go ahead and reveal this one. Okay, oh, please, can you please stop? Thank you. Not cool. So we actually have a free move here. We can move this knight anywhere we want, and he can't be captured because the king is going to be in check by the bishop. So we have to find some square that covers this, this square here, and that would be checkmate. So we can't use this square. We have to find another spot, and that's actually D6. So we have to actually get to D6 in 2 moves. So we can actually play knight to B5 check, and then knight to D6 is checkmate. Okay. I'm actually going to call it. We're a little bit over time, and I got to run. So Thank you all very much.
Bye.
I look forward
Countdown.
to our class next Tuesday and
Bye.
next Thursday as well. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.